I'm reading this lovely book at the moment, actually. It's called The Wild Edge of Sorrow, Rituals of Renewal and the Sacred Work of Grief. So this is Frances Weller, the author, and quite a beautiful book. So it's called The Wild Edge of Sorrow. I was just seeing if there's something to sort of draw on in a way to kind of help us move into a practice around this. He uses some lovely terms, actually. The art and craft of grief, which I think is lovely, and an apprenticeship with sorrow. Yeah. So in a way, I think it's about how we might, I mean, that's, just referring back to what we were mentioning about loss there, is how it comes in so many different forms. And sometimes we might only think about loss, say, when we lose someone close to us. That might be what we sort of link it to most. But I think through the pandemic particularly, and probably for lots of people just generally through different life experiences, but how loss comes in so many different forms. Just thinking about my sharing about my hips and walking, I feel like I'm losing a bit of my mobility, and others of us might feel that when we're experiencing physical health problems, that's a loss in terms of our abilities. If we've injured or damaged ourselves in some way, losing our ability to get around, to walk as we were. I mentioned about sort of changing work, changing careers, changing hobbies, changing what we do, moving. And obviously, relationships. Even if people are, sometimes still alive, we can lose relationships, lose friendships, for many different reasons. And then, we can lose our keys. We can misplace things. Yeah. So loss on so many different levels. To someone close to us, a loved one dying, right through to very small things. But what's interesting, I think, is that with perhaps what we don't often think about, and I don't think I used to think this, is that with each loss there's a grieving process. So however big or small, we go through a process of having to cope with not having that person or that thing or whatever it might be in our lives anymore. And so it's that adapting to that shift, adapting to that change. And it's interesting, this idea of thinking about what happens in the brain because of how we you know, our brain is made up of kind of how we notice things. As things enter into our lives, objects, matter, things, people, our pets, you know, and anything, even things in our garden, things that grow. Our brain, you know, kind of looks at that thing, that person, and it marries it up with something else in the brain. You know, it's constantly sort of associating, comparing, making sense of. So this whole kind of idea of then when something goes, something's lost, something's missing, someone dies, the brain still has the memories of that being, that thing, and still is going through the process of predicting, you know, where it's going to be, where they're going to be, and finding it strange, you know, through those expectations that that person or that being or that thing is not there anymore. So having to kind of recalibrate the map in the brain of those important things in our life, those important people in our life or beings. Yeah. So it's, you know, how do we sort of manage that? How do we sit with that? I think, you know, often when we refer to the grieving process, people talk a lot about time, and time does help because it's the brain taking time to recalibrate things, and we have to go through those what become new experiences without that thing, without that being, in order for us to, you know, continue to make sense of what's in our life and who's in our life and who's no longer there. So it's a very interesting process. So in a way, our practice is able to support us through this sense of resting with what is, and in a big way it's also about nurturing any sense of kindness and compassion, you know, for that loss. And I think in a way, you know, what we've done before in working with difficulty is very similar. It's kind of being able to hold something and then let it go, and notice something and then let it go. And our mindfulness practice works beautifully with this, because in a sense that's what we're doing when we're being aware, when we're being alert to what's here. As we're allowing things to arise and we're allowing things to move on. So let's just allowing ourselves to kind of come quite gently into the practice. We've probably been sitting in a way, listening, just absorbing, allowing the words to come in, allowing them to go again. So let's start just by creating a comfortable space. Just feeling into the body. And you might like to have the eyes closed or open here. You might like to just feel into the parts of the body that are being supported by the ground, by the chair, by the bed, by the cushion. So we might be bringing our attention into the feet, into parts of the legs, into our seat, maybe parts of the back, parts of the arms. So taking a moment to feel into that sense of connection, that sense of support. And I'm just going to invite you to become aware of the breath here. So feeling the breath, but in these parts of the body that are being supported. So we might feel the breath in the back. And as we breathe in, we can kind of feel that connection deepening. And then as we breathe out, we can feel it softening and almost deepening again. So you can do this also if you're seated, breathing deep down into the pelvis, feeling the breath at the base of the body here. And what can also help here is if we deepen the breath a little bit, so taking some conscious breaths, breathing a little bit more deeply and lengthening on the out breath. And you might like to invite the energy of the smile in here as well. Almost like there's a sense of the breath being kind. There's a kindness in the breath as it softens and nurtures this body. Helping to bring a little bit of ease into this body. Helping this body release and relax any tension or tightness. Helping the body really soften onto that support. Feeling that support, feeling held. Almost like the body is giving off a sigh of relief as it nestles into that support. The body, really appreciating this. Being able to just let go a little. And then the invitation here is to then top that practice up by placing a hand somewhere on the body. Could be at the chest, could be on the tummy, or maybe both hands, maybe holding a hand. So you might just find where feels comfortable. And just feeling into that connection from the hand. Feeling this connection as more support, comfort, a warmth and a reassurance. And so it's from this place of connection, of groundedness, of comfort, and of kindness. It's just to offer yourself compassion and kindness for anything or anyone you might have lost recently. Maybe as thoughts or images or emotions, feelings arise, just feeling back into that support, that connection, that comfort. Feeling the kindness towards this loss. If it's helpful, you might offer yourself some words to support this here. I am sorry for this loss. I am here with you. And whatever arises, seeing if you can allow yourself to rest in the loss with kindness and compassion. Almost like we're holding the loss and the love together. And if you need to, taking some fuller, steady breaths at any time, feeling into the connection from the hands, feeling into the support of what's supporting your body here. And breathing. You might like to take some moments just to draw on any kind of appreciation for whatever or whoever it is that you've lost. Continuing to draw on the energy of the smile. Feeling into the connection from the hands. Allowing the body to continue to soften and be held. And we might also just take a moment to appreciate this moment that we're sharing together. Knowing that there is a common humanity with our loss, that we all experience loss. And maybe taking a moment in your minds to be sending kindness, loving kindness to each person here. And then bringing your attention back to this body, taking a moment to appreciate this body, appreciating the aliveness of this body. Taking a moment to appreciate this breath. And then we'll notice the breath for a breath in and a breath out. And we'll bring this practice to a close. So, taking your time gently as we shift from the practice, perhaps giving yourself a squeeze or bringing some gentle movement in. Opening the eyes when you're ready, and taking a moment to appreciate yourself for taking this time to practice. And I thank you for your practice.